Hello, and welcome to the Kosh. I'm your host, Timber Smith, and the Kosh is a podcast that spotlights people who've had an association with the Kosh or the surrounding Fox Cities region. Good morning, Kosh listeners. How are you doing? It's another fabulous day. Just now, when I started the episode, Bosco the Podcast Dogs decided that he was just going to jump in our guest lap.
Make himself comfortable.
Yeah, fast, right? Out of all the times that he decided that he was going to get all comfy and things, he decided, let's just do this right now.
That's how it goes.
The facts. It is a beautiful but brisk day out there. And, every morning, for the most part, I've got to do the ritual of dog owners all over the world, and that is called the poop walk. So grab Bosco. Looks beautiful out, which is, I should know better. I live in Wisconsin, right? You know what that means. Like it can look gorgeous, but it can also be like below zero. So it's not below zero, but whew,
it's chilly.
It's brisk.
Came on quick too the past couple days.
Not right. Like we got some nice, and then all of a sudden it was like, woo. Let me just gone and just shake you up out. Well, as you can tell, and I think you already know what I'm gonna say. Why do I always get these amazing guests? No doubt. And this week is no different. And since my guest is very much in the game straight off the bat, and I'm super excited about this episode for a number of reasons, but I'm not going to tell ahead of time. I'm going to let you listen to this episode, and we're going to learn together, I think, on this one, for all sorts of reasons, things that are near and dear to all of our hearts here as Wisconsinites. No ifs, ands, or buts about that. So, without further ado, and you know what? I'm totally going to slaughter this last name. I'm just going to say it ahead of time because I forgot it is what it is. You'll forgive me later. This week's guest is Ian Wenger.
Perfect.
Oh,
you nailed it.
Nailed it?
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. Every once in a while. Out of all of the things that God has blessed me with, he did not bless me with great enunciation of last names. For some reason, I just slaughter last names. But luckily, I have amazing guests who usually forgive me for that.
Yeah, I get it.
Hey, Ian, how's it going today?
I'm doing well.
Yeah?
Very well, yeah.
All right, fantastic. I hope you're excited about this.
I am. I'm very excited to be here.
Okay.
Honestly, I'm honored to be here. So.
Hey, that's what's up. It's the Kosh. All right. Ian, can you please share a little something about yourself and your connection with the Kosh and the surrounding Fox Cities region?
Yeah, so I grew up in Menasha, just about 20 minutes north of here. Then in 2009, when I graduated high school, came down here to Oshkosh to start my bachelor's degree at UW Oshkosh.
Bruh.
Spent... first year in North Scott.
Learning
the ropes in the North Scott. And basically just never left. I have my bachelor's in ecology and organismal biology, which at the time was more or less just what I thought sounded like the most fun biology degree out of the list of biology degrees. I got to go scoop bugs and things out of streams and identify them by their, small hairs and legs and all sorts of stuff. So I found that kind of stuff really interesting. And then didn't really have a huge plan for what I was going to do post-graduation. And thankfully, I didn't really have to look too hard. So during school, I actually was working at Dublin's Irish Pub in the kitchen there. I've always loved cooking and always found myself very comfortable in a kitchen setting like that. So it just made sense for me to work my way through college doing that. It's tough work, but it's something I enjoy. And while I was working there, another gentleman who was also working in the kitchen, Zach Clark, him and I were working together there. At the time, craft beer was kind of just starting to kind of come into its own here in this part of the country, and Dublin specifically was putting a bunch of really cool stuff on tap. I think they had 28 taps at the time, which was like the most in the city, and that was kind of the time where everybody was racing to get as many beers on tap and crazy stuff as they could. So, and that was right around when I turned 21. So I kind of got to see this stuff come up around as I became of legal drinking age. Of course, I wasn't doing any drinking before that. So
never.
But so it was, the curiosity. And so when I was a kid, I always loved Pokemon cards, and not for the reasons that I think other kids like Pokemon cards. I just liked to read the stats. I liked to learn all their different abilities. And in craft beer was very similar in a lot of ways. There's a bunch of styles. They all have different stats. And so it was kind of an idea of, tasting them all, got to catch them all, so to say.
I don't know if anyone else will ever relate craft beer to Pokemon cards, but I do think that's sweet.
Yeah, that's how I've always thought of it. There's a lot of variety to it, and there's a lot to get into and explore and sort of discover. And at that time too, we were doing craft beer like pairings and dinners there at Dublin's at the restaurant, and so we were getting to experience a ton of variety, and also like the culinary side and cooking with it and kind of developing palate and, figuring out what works and what doesn't, and then getting feedback from, the people who were coming to these dinners. And because of that experience, also we got to meet a lot of brewers, because at the time, this is when a lot of the brewers were still going to these dinners and kind of, giving the spiel about their brewery and the beers that are getting paired. And that was really cool. So kind of in the middle of all that, Zach comes to me one day, he goes, "Hey, you want to start making some beer?" Because I had made some wine in a bucket at one point in my college career just to see what would happen. I had taken a mycology class, and we had made, it was yeast has been that sort of fungus sort of a category. And
Did this happen in the Scots?
Listen, it happened.
Wait, don't tell me.
All right.
I'm just going to make some.
I will say, no, it did not happen in the Scots. But that wine may have made it to the Scots, but, whether or not it was in it was a different story.
That's fair.
So, yeah, Zach's like, I know you made wine. You want to try making some beer? And I'm like, yeah, absolutely. So we really dove in head first. We drove down to Milwaukee the next weekend and, took the lakefront brewery tour, went to the homebrew store, went to some craft beer bar, kind of just really got a feel for what that looked like. And homebrewing is one of these things where if you want, like a lot of people go, I want to try making my own beer, and that's great. I recommend everybody at least go take a brewery tour, go see how it's made, because it's one of those things where if you enjoy beer, I think it's good. I mean, if you enjoy anything, I think it's good to know where these things come from and how they're made, and just to get a better connection with it, And so we went and did that, and ended up buying too much equipment, because again, homebrewing is one of these things where if you dabble, that's fine. You can try making it once. It's probably not going to be very good, but because you kind of you need the equipment, and some know-how. So you really gotta. It's an investment, sort of at the end of the day. You meet different levels of homebrewers too. There's some that are real deep into it that have spent $5,000 or something on some homebrew basement setup, and they got all the bells and whistles, and their beer's great, and I'm not trying to hate on anybody's beer here, but the next level down where it's like, yeah, we're still doing it in the glass jugs and just eyeing things up, it's like it's still beer, just not as good as the big equipment. So
there's levels to it.
Yeah, and so we started just kind of getting into it and obsessively getting into it and really just brewing a lot of beer. And by the second batch, we're like, hey, let's just open a brewery. Like, let's do it. There's nothing like that in Oshkosh right now. I mean, there is, Fox River's been around for 20 years, and Bare Bones had not opened up yet, but was kind of in the works. And like, yeah, let's do it. This is great. We have we have all these connections from the beer dinners at Dublin's and all that kind of stuff. And so we really just started reaching out, making beer. We actually did joined the homebrew club here in town, the SOBs. They're a great organization, really cool people. Just kind of dove headfirst into it as much as we can.
So there is a homebrewing club in town?
Yep. It's actually this. I'm going to be completely corrected on this at some point, but I believe at one point, or it is the second oldest in America or something like that. It was started in 1991.
Oh.
It's one of the oldest. I mean, it's been around for quite a long time. But yeah, it's just a group of people. They go together. It used to be at Omaro's. We actually host the monthly meetings at the brewery now. Been doing that for a couple of years. But yeah, basically just a bunch of people who homebrew. They bring their samples to the meetings. They kind of share tips and stories. There's like a Christmas party every year where everybody brings food to pass and that kind of thing. It's just a good time. Just a club. Yeah.
So there's a beer club.
There's a beer. There's a beer club.
There's a beer club of people who make
it's
beer.
A club of it's a gathering of nerds who really love the science and the artistry and all that sort of stuff behind the beer. And some of those guys are making wine and mead and cider and all sorts of stuff. So, yeah, that's kind of another place we sort of cut our chops, making beer, just getting feedback. And we were brewing quite a bit. It was 842 Prospect actually is the house. It's right on campus. That basement had a bar in it for some reason when it was actually Zach's college house. So when he moved in, the bar was already down there, but we turned that whole basement into a brew lab, basically, all sorts of equipment. And
did the landlord know?
He did, yeah.
Was he in on the cut?
Yeah, right. No,
he was in on the beer.
He was like, as long as you don't burn my house down, we should be good. So, which we never did. We tied into his natural gas line though, off the dryer runs. He never knew about that. I'm sure he wouldn't have been happy, but it is what it is. we survived. We actually named a beer. One of our first beers we made was named 842 Pale Ale, and the ale had like a little picture of the house on it and everything. It's fun. Some fun history there.
You know what? Why is this so freaking Kosh?
I know, right?
This is so fabulous.
Yeah.
Oh, and how dare you ask why there's a bar in the basement of a house near campus?
No kidding. I should know better. But yeah, and so a lot of this too ties into UW Oshkosh. So we utilize our resources at the Small Business Development Center. I don't know if you know Colleen Merrill, but she was running the SBDC there for a while when we were, I think I had graduated by the time we really started talking to her, but she was the one that really like set us on the path of how to actually open a business, not just a brewery, but any business in general. And she had just Mama Merrill. I mean, to this day, she was kind of the reason we were ever even open, but I'm jumping all over the place here.
Oh no, this is linear. To me, this is linear.
Okay. Yeah.
Like I'm feeling this.
Yeah. So, basically she was like, you guys obviously need a business plan if this is something you want to turn into a professional career. I'm going to give you all the opportunity in the world I can to get this beer out to people and get feedback and all that kind of stuff. So we ended up, one of Zach's roommates at the time was going for a business degree, and he had like a textbook basically that had a sample business plan in it. And we literally just took that thing, and every time we were brewing a batch of beer, we'd just be like, one of us would be doing whatever the brewing need to get done, and the other one would just be sitting at the bar in the basement with a notepad or a laptop or something, and we're just filling out sections of this business plan. So that probably took 3 months or so to really hammer out some idea. And remind you, at the time we're 23, 24, big dreams, making beer for a living kind of thing. And so we took that back to Colleen. She said, okay, this is let me look at this. I'll read through it, kind of give you the feedback. She told us what needed to get changed. We made those corrections, kind of polish it up. And she was the first one that ever introduced us then to a banker here in town. Kurt, he's still our banker to this day over at West Point Bank. But so he was actually the one that kind of, she's like, you obviously need money to do this. And we're like, well, yeah, obviously. So she introduced us to him. He basically was the one that gave us the outline of like, well, here's, figure out how much you need. I'm going to need, literally itemize every possible thing you're going to need to run this brewery, from, the equipment, the ingredients, to the, what's the energy cost, how much water are you going to be using a month? I mean, just all that kind of stuff, breaking it down. What are the bar stools cost for your bar? What is the, what are the taps? What's that tap system look like? Or the coolers? Ooh. I mean, like literally everything. So we just had, by the end of this, I mean, this is probably then a 1.5, 2 year process or whatever. We're just building all of this. And at the same time, as we're figuring out the money thing, we obviously need investors, so then we're putting out feelers at the homebrew club and friends and family and trying to meet people. We called that our blind date phase. We were like really literally just meeting people. We were still working at Dublin's at the time, meeting people at Dublin's, like, here's our business plan, here's what we're thinking, here's some sample beer. What do you think? Like, you in for 10 grand kind of thing? And, it just, we were so naive at the time, but you kind of need that, if you're going to be diving head first into something like this. And we found just a really good group of people. That probably took, again, like 18 months to really find a group of investors. We had one gentleman who kind of stepped up as our third partner from the beginning. He, Maurice Berglund, he was the one that facilitated at the end of the day, that facilitated the purchase of the property and all that kind of stuff. But it was just a lot of, we ended up doing a business accelerator program with the SBDC. That one was huge because we had to actually, one of our tasks was in that cohort was we had to go get as much feedback from people within our industry as we could. And for us, that meant literally roaming up and down Main Street, talking to every bartender, beer purchaser, bar owner, restaurateur. I mean, we were, if we could talk to the people at Festival Foods, running the liquor department, we were literally just talking to people saying, asking questions about how do you like to run your beer purchasing? How do you run your bar, your taps? Is craft beer something that you see growing? Then we'd give them samples and ask for feedback on the beers. Is something you'd be willing to put on your taps? I mean, that kind of stuff. And so, at the end of the day, I think we had 150 interviews done with all this, feedback. And so we were able to apply that to a lot of the business plan updates and things. It just kind of snowballed, and eventually, we dug ourselves into this hole where, all right, we kind of have to do this now. And, looking for properties, that was a whole thing too, working with, it was my first ever experience, and Zach's too, working with realtors and things like that. And again, imagine two 26-year-old, 25-year-old guys, meeting these people, when we show up, like, who are these kids, like, trying to look at commercial properties, and a lot of like, oh, is your dad doing? And we're like, no, it's us, like it's our thing or whatever. And, so, at the end of the day, it's like we really had to know what we were talking about when this was all said and done in order for anybody to really
take you seriously.
Yes, and commit, financial risk and time risk and all sorts of stuff to commit that to us. So, we had to make sure all of our T's were crossed and I's dotted and all that. And happened about 2015. This was, I believe, right after, or no, it was before Buckstaff had been brought down, if you remember, the Buckstaff property where the arena is now. So that had not been taken down yet, but there was a property there on the corner of 10th and South Main. It had been vacant for, I think, 4 years when we were looking at it, but it had previously been canteen vending services.
Yep, it was canteen. I remember that.
So, and actually prior to this, I should go back because we had looked at a different, just to show how, like, much time and effort went into this. Like, we had spent about a year on a different property on the corner of 7th and Oregon, the northwest corner there. Really cool old building. It was like built in like 1856 or something. Like there's still like the cornerstone on it that has the date and everything. But it needed a ton of work. There's a bunch of storefronts down below. There's apartments up top. And it was just one of those things at the end of the day. We spent a ton of time, a bunch of money to just trying to figure out if this was going to be feasible for us or not. And it wasn't, we just couldn't come to a deal with the owner. Really nice people, but it was just like, it just wasn't going to work out for what we needed. It was too expensive on our end. The stuff we were going to have to do to actually hook up new water lines, electricity, all that just wasn't going to be worth it at the time. So we kind of had to walk away from that, which was tough. It's like one of those things, just learn, again, like things I never would have expected to learn. I graduated with a biology degree. I assumed I was going to be working for the DNR or something. Right. So here I am, saying no to purchasing these buildings or whatever. And so then we ended up finding the canteen building. And when we walked in there, it was like, all right, this is it. Like, this is beautiful. We're on Main Street. We can say we're on Main Street, which is something that I love, just as a concept, but also physically where we're at is great. And, there was things in it infrastructurally that were already in place that we were going to need, like sloped floors and drains. We did have to do some new water lines, things like that. It was a pretty big project in general. And so, we ended up purchasing that building without financing, though, to actually build it out. But at the time, we didn't want to lose out on the property. That the Sawdust District had already been sort of announced as a thing that was happening in the city.
Right.
And there was a ton of studies too, and this is another one of those things we were bringing to investors and people when we found this property, especially. It's like, listen, like there are literally studies out there done on like the positive impacts that these types of businesses could have on underdeveloped parts of cities, like, and specifically breweries. That was like a thing that people were looking at. And so we bought that property just with the idea that, hey, it's a property in an upcoming side of town that if this brewery thing ends up falling through, there's still this building that's going to gain in value as that side of town becomes more and more prominent. And if we do, if this all works out, we have a great spot in a part of town that we are excited about seeing grow and want to be a part of that from the ground floor. And so we spent about a year. This was the worst year of all of them. So once we had that property, we're upkeeping it, mowing the lawn, all that kind of stuff, not, without actually using it, and not doing any demolition, or, it needed a bunch of work still, and we're like, we could start doing this. It's like, well, I would rather not, unless we know we're going to be able to actually follow through on this. And I want to say we had talked to probably between 18 and 25 different banks at that point. Like literally just from Green Bay to, Fond du Lac. We were hitting everybody, just trying to bring in the business plan, pitching our thing, trying to get this chunk of money that we were going to need, this loan to get this brewery started. We had a property that was part of the down payment. There's all this stuff in place, and we just could not find a bank to work with us. And literally, it was like the most frustrating thing. I was living with my mom at the time up in Neenah, and there was at one point that I was County Road A. I was halfway to Oshkosh. We had this big meeting. I was all in my suit and tie or whatever. We're like good again. We're like 26. It's like, all right, we got at least got to look good if we're going to do this stuff. And
there's something to that. Right?
Yeah, for sure. Showing we're prepared and taking it seriously. And I get a call. I'm like halfway down County Road A, and Zach's like, "Listen," she called me and she told us not even to come. Like, it's just the most defeating thing. I'm like, well, all right, I'm going to turn around and go home. And I guess, it's like, we don't even get this meeting. Like, okay, all right. And so this is one of those times, we called Colleen, or our business advisor, Mama Merrill, we're like, hey, we just need some moral support. We went to her office, kind of just, she just saw how defeated we were. She's like, you guys, listen, like, we're going to figure it out. There's something out there we're going to be able to do. And, maybe a couple days later, she goes, hey, why don't you go talk to Kurt again? And the original, that first banker that we met with. And we're like, all right, we're going to go show them what we have. And there's a few things in place. Go EDC was actually getting formed at this time too. So we had been in talks with them a little bit, trying to find some money. And we went there, and there was essentially, we had applied for some Go EDC financing. And Kurt's like, listen, if this works, he's like, I think we'd be able to do this for you. And also he's like, that this was also during the time that the herd and that arena whole thing was happening. And when,
right,
the city was vying for all that. And he's like, he goes, I think, give it a couple weeks. He goes, I think there's some things happening that might make this a little bit easier for you. And it was like, sure enough, 2 weeks later, they announced the herd, and within days, he's like, yeah, we're all right. We got a deal. All right, he's like, I think he saw, what was happening down there. He's like, if that arena goes in, it's a lot easier for me to go to my, the president of the bank and convince the board and all that. And it worked out really well. So that kind of just all happened at the same time. And, that Sawdust district, I think, was able to, see two businesses move in at once. And
so that's love for the herd.
Oh yeah, for sure. That arena is, really, we've been a sponsor there too since they've opened. We have a very beneficial kind of mutualistic relationship. We see huge, boosts in business and stuff on the days that the herd plays, or there's concerts and things like that. So
yeah, because there's a line at your
yeah, exactly. Because parking's a nightmare. And
me and my friend are in that line.
Yeah, exactly. So, but yeah, so there's kind of there's obviously a million more parts of that story. I'm sure more will come up too as we're kind of talking, but
that's a journey.
Yeah, it is. It's tough to even tell that story, because there's so many things were happening at the same time too, whether it was doing build out and construction. We really bootstrapped that building too. Once we got the financing approved and everything, it was like, all right, let's get to work, and Zach and I were still working jobs, we still needed to pay our bills and things like that. So it was, at the time, I was bartending up at Lion's Tail because I was still living with my mom in Neenah. So I was like a short drive to work, and Alex up there was really cool about, get me in. He knew what we were doing too. So he's like, oh yeah, for sure. He's like, beer. He's like, absolutely, come down. You bartend all day like that. That's great. So it's just a fun community to the brewing community too. It's cool in that way. But yeah, so there's just so much stuff happening during that whole process.
I hung on every word. Like, I was along for that journey.
Yeah.
I hear that. Like, I know a couple of people who, they've tried to start their businesses, and it's always like this push pull with the banks.
Yeah.
Can they believe in it? Can they see the vision? And it's like, how does anything new ever kick off? Because I feel like banks, like, new stuff ain't banks' thing.
No. And, I could say a million things about that too. There's, I think the more people we have, okay, what I'm going to say here is You know, like you see things in town here, like there's a few people that are doing a lot of things here, you know, and
yes,
and I wholeheartedly support that, because without those kinds of people, things wouldn't happen here, you know. But I think the opportunity for small businesses and new entrepreneurs to get in, it's a really high wall to climb.
Right.
You know, and I give a lot of credit to UW Oshkosh and Small Business Development Center and places like that are, you know, willing to put people out there and give them a platform to be able to actually communicate this stuff and get ideas out into the world, and at least, you know, opportunities to, you know, get some. We did a lot of like elevator pitch stuff, you know, trying to get some financing. I mean, just things like that. I mean, just having those opportunities was huge for us.
Do you think your age was one of the things that really gave people pause?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, my mom at the time, she's like, are you guys just doing this because you want to drink beer all day? Like, well, like, no, you know, and now looking, it's like, I'm sick of beer sometimes, you know, like it's not, you know, I will say, don't make your hobby your job. That's a good way to ruin your hobby. But, you know, I love what I do. I absolutely love what I do. But, you know, there's truth in that. You know, it's running a business isn't just making beer. You know, I think that's another thing too. A lot of people don't understand, you know, that there is all the accounting and stuff. And, you know, thankfully, so Zach and I have this really good partnership in where he's, so he went to UW Oshkosh too, but he never graduated. He's got his culinary apprenticeship from Fox Valley Tech. So that's kind of where his kitchen background came from. And then when we started working on this business plan and everything, he goes, well, I might as well start taking some classes at UWO. And so he took like all of his real hard like accounting stuff. He's like, he literally tells professors, like, here's what I'm trying to do. Or like his advisor, you know, like, here's what I'm trying to do. Like, what classes should I take to, you know, I may not even graduate. I just need some of these skills, you know, because it's going to help me in what I'm actually trying to do.
Right.
So like he took all his like, you know, small business management, entrepreneurship, you know, just all that kind of stuff to just try and dial in as much as he can on that end. And I'm more of the, you know, I do the label design, you know, we're doing a lot of the brewing, you know, the recipe development and that kind of stuff, you know, like we're both doing a lot of that, you know, just up until very recently, like doing a lot of social media and all that sort of stuff. It's more the creative side of things, and he's more the hard numbers and inventory management and that kind of stuff. So it's a good partnership in that way. But yeah, it's, you know, we were, again, yeah, you're right. We were 24, you know, at 25 when we were talking to you know, trying to get investors, talking to banks, and, you know, 6 years of adult life experience isn't much, you know. I'm not an old guy or anything, but, you know, I'm not going to say I'm super wise or anything, but, you know, looking back on it, even then, it's like, oh, little baby, you know.
Hey, well, you gained some wisdom through the process.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Well, you know, that's, you know, can't be understated how much we learned, or overstated how much we learned in that process of actually just trying to get the business open. And the funniest part about that, you know, is by the end of it, it's like, we did it, you know, and then you have this business to run. It's like, you haven't done anything yet, you know, like you still have to build this business now and make it run. And, you know, there's now the hard work really starts, you know. So
it's like, is that the dog that catches the bumper of the car?
Yeah, exactly. Doesn't know what to do with it once he gets it, you know. I was like, oh, I didn't think that was going to happen. So yeah, there was a lot of learning curves, and there still is, you know, to this day. You know, neither of us have ever opened and ran a brewery before. This is still our first time, you know. So it's still a lot of things, a lot of growth, things like that we're learning.
All right. Once again,
I appreciate that.
No, that's good. And that was the journey, I think. I'm not going to lie. I'm not going to speak for Kosh listeners, but it was the journey I wanted to go on. I wanted to understand that. Because how do you go from the phase of like what I would assume is like brewing something in your garage, in your basement, in your wherever, and then one day you have a building and you're cranking out really good beer.
Right. Yeah. You know, and at the end of the day, that's the important part too, is the beer's got to be good, you know. And
that's number one.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
You know, that's number one. It's kind of like, you know, when I was looking into podcasting and you know, you look for the nugget that they tell you. And the nugget was, no matter what equipment you buy and all the other stuff, it must sound good. Yeah. And that's it. Right. Literally, if it doesn't sound good, no matter what your content is, how good it is, no one's listening. Yeah. So you got to start at base one. Right. It must quality. It must sound good. You know, good, decent microphones. You don't have to have the best. And something decent to record with. And
Right.
like, I never forgot that because that's step one. The rest you can.
Yeah, it'll fall into place.
Yeah, it'll fall into place.
You got the right framework.
But the rest, if I went in a different direction and it didn't at least sound good, yeah you're not getting anybody listening that way.
Yeah, exactly.
All right. Ian, I think you win for the longest beginning before we kick into any segments.
Yeah, that was the truncated one too. We have to do the long form another time here.
Yeah. You get 2 episodes.
There we go. Yeah.
You know, we're going to come back
Revisit.
to that. All right. So we're going to jump into segment 1. Segment 1 is called What in the World is Going On With? That's where you start with the phrase, what in the world? And then you tell us what's on your mind.
Well, I just want to know what in the world is going on with aliens in the news. Bruh.
Facts.
Yeah, it's just one of those things I think that just started popping up a couple years ago, and all of a sudden, as a man who finds himself grounded in science and logic, why would there not be aliens out there? But why are we just finding this out now? And I don't know if you're familiar with any of the news coming out about this, but the CIA is releasing all sorts of stuff,
First of all, I'm a firm believer. Yeah, we've known for a long time,
right?
If you've been in the military in any kind of way, I think
yeah,
like just certain things about how the military works and stuff.
Yeah,
like there's no surprises going on for us.
No, but when's the big reveal? There's got to be something.
I think they've been revealing to us the whole time.
Okay, all right.
It's a drip,
yeah,
drip, right? Because there's no denial.
No, too much at once might blow our minds too much.
That's it.
Yeah.
Like you don't want to send society into a full blown panic.
Sure.
And change is hard. So think about this: the idea of us living with another life force that is on the same level, if not, or more intelligent than us with better technology, that would blow us up.
Is it wrong for me to think we need that? Something to shake us up a little bit.
Something to shake us up, something to ground us. But I don't think that's where we would go.
That's fair.
I think we would go to defensive posture, right?
Yeah.
We always want to be the most powerful.
Yeah.
Right. And so when we don't feel like we are, we do things to make sure that we feel like we are, even though we still may not be.
Maintaining the information.
Yeah. Something.
Yeah.
And so that's where I just think we weren't ready to receive it. Otherwise, the other thing that float this. Now we sound like a bunch of conspiracy theorists. What if it was one of those things where the technology we found from whatever, right? We didn't want to share that with the world or our enemies.
Yeah.
And so we drip it out.
Sure. We
drip it out.
Yeah, that's the back to that defensive mode, right? It's keeping it for ourselves.
Yeah. Yeah.
I also think that if there are otherworldly beings here, what does that even mean? There's this idea in biology where, kind of evolving towards more and more complexity, right? Where what if we evolve past physicality, right? Where our consciousness becomes what our living selves.
Yeah, I'm with that. That reminds me of that movie. There was that movie that came out multiple years ago. It's been a while now, where the guy was having a relationship with AI.
Oh yeah, her.
I don't know. I don't remember the name of it, but I did watch it. And it was fascinating, and it made me think of stuff like that.
Yeah.
But here's my thing: the reason I know we're not ready for new life forms. We can't even get along with each other.
Yeah, that's therein lies the problem, right?
Right? We're all the same. Well, not all the same. I'm not talking culturally, but we're human beings in the human race. We can't We can't play nice in the sandbox.
We
together.
haven't figured it out yet. Yeah,
No.
right. Let alone adding a whole nother group.
Add a whole nother group in there, and then that's wild
fair
stuff.
enough. Fair enough.
All right, I love that.
Yeah, another one we could talk for hours on, honestly.
Hey,
They get weird.
You aren't kidding. Weird? Is it really weird? I don't think it's weird. Okay. What in the world is going on with Jimmy Buckets, Jimmy Butler in the Kosh kicking it. Now, if y'all don't know who Jimmy Butler is, he is the superstar of the Miami Heat. He is also a Marquette grad. And Jimmy Buckets was sitting here this week, just casually sitting in a Herd game.
So I was just talking to somebody about this yesterday who in all honesty, I'm not the biggest sports fan. I'm not a big sports guy, but I get it. I get the excitement. And this is one of those things, going back to that Herd Arena, where else are you going to be able to see the likes of Jimmy Buckets or Giannis or, all these people in literally, you could yell at him, say, hey, exactly. You're that close to him, and it's just what a cool thing we have going here, that kind of level of talent,
It is, and you know what? You are so right. Like the arena, we don't give it enough credit, and I feel like we're constantly critical of it. I'm not, because I'm grateful that we have it, because it did add something to the Kosh that we didn't have before.
Absolutely.
Which is being, the Kosh before we had a reputation of bars and churches, and I did say it in the correct order.
Yeah, and now it's bars, churches, and the arena. So.
In the air, but the arena just gave you something else to do that was different.
Yeah,
like getting, and it's affordable.
Well, that's the big thing, especially with the Herd. I mean, it's affordable family entertainment, and those games are fun, right?
They're super fun.
Regardless of level of talent or whatever. And I mean, some of those guys are great, but it is just one of those
it's something to get out of the house and do. You know what I call it? I call it the high school game for adults.
There you go.
Because if you have lived in Oshkosh for any amount of time, or in the Fox Cities region for any amount of time, you can go to that game. You're going to see at least 10 people
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And your kids you can let them run loose. Mm-hmm. They're safe. They're going to run around.
Right. Yeah.
You're going to get entertained by the game. You're going to get to see your friends and family members and say hello and catch up. It's just.
I will say too, we've gotten a ton of people into the tap room from as far as Chicago for these games, but specifically people in Milwaukee, in the Milwaukee suburbs. So they go, this is so much cheaper than the Bucks games, and it's easier to get in and out of. It's not a whole, parking your car and walking, a mile and a half or whatever. It's just easy in and out, and it's really not that far from Milwaukee. Mm-hmm. So we've seen a ton of people in the tap room and stopping in, but just in general, it's bringing people from outside of the city, which I always love. The more people you can get exposed to Oshkosh and the cool things we do here,
that's
better.
Facts.
So
that's facts. I'm not gonna lie. Your tappers are the ones that me and big shout out to my man Chris Tarmann are the ones we tend to go visit.
Shout out to Chris.
Oh yeah,
we got some of his bags boards at our. Some custom sets for us.
That's right.
Chris, we're gonna have to get more from you, Chris. Sorry.
Yeah, Cornhole by Tarmann.
That's right.
Cornhole by Tarmann. Big shout out. So yeah, that's where we tend to go.
I love that.
And try some things. And I'm not a beer guy, but at Herd games, I'm a beer guy.
Yeah, and we got variety. We have a lot of beers that don't quite taste like beers.
No, there's just one that had a chai thing going on.
Yeah, Downtown Commute.
That was the one.
Another awesome Oshkosh collaboration.
Yes.
What's Planet Perk, the Arena, and us did that for. Actually used. So that was a fun. I did the label design. That was fun. I took actually went and took a picture of the arena and made like a shadow. What do they call that? Silhouette of it. And so we had like silhouettes of our building, silhouette of the Planet Perk building, and silhouette of the arena all around the bottom of the can. It was a really cool label.
Oh, that's sweet.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, that one that's out of all the ones I've tried, and I try most of them except for I don't do like IPA stuff. That one was my favorite.
I love that.
Yeah. Don't worry.
Can't go wrong with chai.
I'm going to have full transparency. Kosh listeners, I'm totally angling for the Kosh beer by the end of this episode.
Yeah. I've been thinking about it already. So
all right.
We'll figure it out.
And we're going to figure this out. Okay. back to Jimmy Buckets.
Yeah.
Man, here in the Kosh. And here's the great thing about it. So where I got my seats, I see this figure just, sashaying across the court. Mm-hmm. And I was like, wait a minute now. That looks like Jimmy Butler. And so I turned to my partners in crime, because we've got season tickets in a row. Right? And I go, hey, who's tonight's team? Who's their feeder team? Oh, this is for Miami. I was like, there's Jimmy Buckets. And they were like, who? Huh? And I was like, no, seriously. And what was even better is then this kid who was sitting in front of us totally turns around and said, yeah, that's totally Jimmy Butler, man. I already went and checked it out. And I was like,
that's so funny.
Only in the, but here was the cool thing. Why are we so cool in the Kosh? Like we act like we've been there before.
Yes. Okay, this is what I heard, because whoever was telling me this yesterday, like, no one was even like rushing him, asking him for autographs.
Nothing.
Or anything.
They totally. Yeah. We all knew who.
Like
he
we
was.
know him.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's just Jimmy.
Basically, why do we do that? That is exactly what the Kosh does.
Yeah.
We
just don't. We're too humble. We don't want to be annoying. I don't know.
And I could totally hear somebody from the Kosh saying, "Why he puts his pants on like I do?"
yeah, exactly.
Yes, while they drink a beer, and that is totally how we act. Well, but it's cool though. Like, we are super respectful. The kids even were pretty respectful for the most part, and he was super nice from what I could see. Good. Like, he wasn't tripping or anything like that, and that was super nice. And I heard that he actually stopped in at I should totally know it, barbecue place.
Yeah, Parker John's.
Yep. And
that's right.
And I heard he broke bread there, so that's pretty sweet.
That's good.
Yeah.
Good food over there.
Well, he did a full Kosh circuit.
Yeah, get the tour, right?
Yes.
You gotta.
It ain't like he doesn't know Wisconsin. He knows Wisconsin.
Right.
So, all right. Next segment is called 21 Questions. This is where it is not 21 questions, but we have some, what I'm going to call some more in-depth questions that help us understand each other. What I want to do is I think a collection of people answering these types of questions is going to be super insightful for maybe a collection of wisdom in the long run. All right. So you ready?
Let's do it.
All right. First question. What are you grateful for?
Well, this is going to go back to my work life, but I'm really grateful for the people that allow us to do what we do and support us in what we do. What we opened as just a business or brewery has brought joy that we didn't realize has brought joy to people that we didn't realize in ways that we didn't really realize was going to happen. It's a meeting place. We know people that have had first dates there. I've had friends get engaged there. I've had, we've had weddings at the brewery. We've had birthday parties. We're just, the fact that we get to help people create memories that they really get to enjoy and cherish is something that I really am very grateful for. And the fact that I get to wake up and go do that every day is something that I'm super grateful for. I know not everybody loves their job, and I'm very thankful that I get to love my job.
That's deep. What motivates you?
I'm excited about this one. Okay, so curiosity, transformation, aha moments, and finished products. And I'll tell you what that means. So this kind of goes into like my hobbies and things. I really love, just everything I do in life. The curiosity to learn. As I mentioned earlier to you, it's like I listen to podcasts all day at work, and it's not like, I don't like true crime. That's not my thing. I like history podcasts. I like ones where I just get to learn about people. The Jordan Harbinger show is one that I enjoy. I don't know if you're familiar at all, but just like he interviews just people from all walks of life, and they just tell their stories and that kind of stuff. Just curiosity motivates me. Just getting out there and learning about stuff. Like I'm very motivated to pick things up and look at them and take them apart and figure out how they work. And I'm going to tie this into beer again. So curiosity of beer, just learning how to make a certain style or what it, the process, learning the process to me was such a cool thing. I was just curious about it, before, I remember a moment when I realized I was drinking beer and had no idea where it came from. And, I think that might have been the path in which led us down all this, but, learning how things are made. And then this transformation, for fermentation is one that has kind of part of my life in a very specific way, but the transformation of a product into another thing, and, you know, what it gives off when it does that, and what it takes in when it does that. And I think people are the same way, you know, just changing and constantly learning and transforming and applying what you learn and giving up what you learn to be not true and things like that. And then aha moments, you know, when you finally realize that you did it and that worked. You know, we made beer. I remember the first time we did that, you know, I was like, look at that, it's beer now, you know, like, aha, we did it.
I was going to say, was there a parting of the clouds?
Yeah, I mean, literally, you know, metaphorically, yes, and physically, or, you know, literally, maybe, who knows, but, and then the finished product, same thing, you know, the hot sauce I brought today, one of those things, curiosity. I love growing plants. I love gardening. It's one of those things I love doing, and just out of curiosity to see how it works and what works good and what doesn't. And, you know, then you get that transformation from seed to plant to pepper, and then, you know, from pepper to hot sauce, and aha, look I made it, and it worked, and it tastes good, and then you have a jar of hot sauce, and there's your finished product. And how cool is that? You know, the motivation of seeing something through in that way, and you know, becoming curious about something, applying the knowledge you already know while learning something new about it, and seeing it change and seeing it become, and then having it there in the finished product is what really gets me moving.
What grounds you?
My wife, number one, and my house, number two, and my hobbies. Like I mentioned, gardening is one. I'm a big mycology fan, so I grow oyster mushrooms and lion's mane and reishi mushrooms, chestnut mushrooms, things like that.
Oh, for real? Lion's mane?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, so that's something that I can, I've dove pretty headfirst into it, actually. I got like a whole flow hood. I got like a lab, basically. So, I mean, that, you know, something it's a hobby that I love. I can just kind of zone out and do, and, you know, put some music on and really enjoy. And again, one of those transformation things, you know, from starting with something and ending up with something different. Cooking. And then my family's got some land up in near Manawa, and one of my favorite things to do is, since I've been a small child, is just walking through those woods. I think that's another reason I really love gardening and nature and biology. It's just being out in nature. And so foraging kind of comes in with that. I'm forage when I can for mushrooms and, you know, plants and fruits, things like that. So connecting with nature and the earth, whatever that means.
What does success look like to you?
For me, it really is the feeling of being fulfilled and feeling like you've accomplished something, and whatever that means to you, because I think that means something different for everybody. Like, I'm not a very financially driven person, but it's knowing that, you know, we could see something through and, you know, accomplish something that you kind of set out to accomplish.
What irritates you?
Closed-mindedness. Here's what I have specifically written, because closed-mindedness and an unwillingness to put oneself in uncomfortable positions and places for the sake of better understanding a person, place, or thing. I find being uncomfortable an important thing in life. I think you should be willing and able to put yourself in uncomfortable positions in order to see other people's points of views or other... It's part of that history thing. I always like thinking about what it was like living in old times, but not just like one specific thing, but like daily routine. What did it look like when you woke up? You know what I mean? Like how, and I imagine now that would be very uncomfortable for us living in the 1800s, you know, but what an interesting point of view to learn about, and how differently you'd see the world in that way. Or even nowadays, you know, like, you know, waking up. I had the opportunity to go to Fiji this past February and spent 12 days there. My mom's married to a Fijian guy, and so his family's still there and everything. So we got to really experience true Fiji. You know, we did stay at some resorts and things, but it was, for the first half of the trip, we were at, you know, like seeing how people really live in Fiji, you know, on a day-to-day basis. And there's no AC. There's, you know, it's just such an interesting perspective shift, and kind of just understanding, you know, yeah, we were sweaty and uncomfortable, a lot of it, but, you know, that's just, it was... And I'm not saying just physically uncomfortable, you know, but putting yourself in weird, different mindsets and trying to understand different people's point of views can make you feel uncomfortable. But, you know, that trip specifically kind of just showed me, like, yeah, look at, this is people's lives. You know, this is like, you know, I think of my daily routine and how comfortable I am in that. And, you know, it's the same for everybody everywhere. You know, you live your life. But I think until you kind of put yourself in those positions, it's really hard to understand what that even means to other people.
What you're talking about is just growth.
Yeah.
Like, seriously.
Yeah, unwillingness to grow. That's my pet peeve.
Yeah,
you know?
like, yeah, and I get that.
Just people being set in their ways.
What scares you?
Climate change is the big one. I've have my biology degree, I think, to thank for that. I took a lot of classes in that way, and I think it's one of those things that when people who spend their lives studying that kind of stuff tell you something, you should listen to them. We don't really get to be choosy about what we get to believe, I don't think, because there are facts. There are factual facts in the world, and I think ignoring those doesn't do anybody any good. So that's one that scares me. And also what that means for like our children's children down the line and what that world's going to look like for them. I mean, I even think the one that I see specifically in my day-to-day, and I think that if people think about it more, they would start seeing it too, is the loss of biodiversity we have. I think about how many bugs were around. Or this is one actually, like, literally, think about driving your car 20 years ago and how many bugs you'd have on your windshield and on the grill of your car, right? Like, that was just a thing you would deal with. And it was, people had, you know, shields on the front of their bug, you know, it was like leather, whatever, on the front of their car to kind of keep it.
All right.
Next summer, go out and look at your car, the front of your car after taking a road trip. No bugs. And that is specifically a climate-based thing, right? Like, that's not specifically climate, but an environmental sort of thing. I mean, that's through use of pesticides and monoculture farming and things like that. You know, we're losing. It's not just the rainforest being burned down, you know, and losing habitat. It's literally turning swaths of natural prairies into cornfields and soybean fields and unsustainable things like that. I think that terrifies me.
We need bugs.
We do need bugs. And you know, it's the smaller you get, the more of them you need. You know, it's the base of a lot of food chains and things like that. And I think we're so separated from, especially our food systems, that we don't really, you know what that looks like. You know, because it's just, we can still go. You know, there may be not as many bugs. I can still go to the grocery store and buy a chicken or a pound of beef or, you know, some carrots or whatever. Like, that hasn't changed, but, you know, who knows? That may change in the future, you know?
I think you're right. I think that is scary.
Yeah. It's terrifying. I don't know. You're talking about being comfortable, you know? You're ready to be uncomfortable. You go to the grocery store and there's no food to buy, you know? That's one of those things.
Once you go down a certain path, there's no turning back.
Right.
I like your term, facts.
Yeah, things like
versus alternative facts.
Well, and that's the thing. Like, there are truths in the world. You know what I mean? Like, whether you believe it or not, there are things that are true, and I don't. Yeah. So.
No, I'm with you. What recharges your soul?
I was thinking about this hard. So when I was going to answer this, I was going to be like, you know, it's meditate. No, but really just hanging out with my friends, like close friends, and just like spending time and being able to sort of zone out and not be thinking about, you know, work or what I got to do tomorrow or, you know, the issues of the world or whatever. I'm just time where we can just spend just being goofy and, you know, not reliving high school days, but kind of getting back in that same mindset where it's just funny and goofy and we're being stupid and idiots and, you know, enjoying each other's company.
Telling North Scott stories.
Yeah, North Scott stories. Yeah, that's right. Shout out to those roommates.
How do you define love?
For me, it is the ability to, well, it's being willing to love or to care and be kind. What did I have here? Unwavering support, honesty, and kindness, but it has to be in all directions. I think that's how I would define it. It's but I mean, you know, well, like when you know, as you know, it's like love's different for everybody, but I think like, and it's different for me with different people. You know what I mean? The love I have for my wife is different than the love I have for my siblings or my sister, you know, or my parents or whatever. But, you know, it's hard to define, isn't it?
It's a tough one, but I ask because there's not a correct answer.
Right.
But it's nice to understand how different people approach it.
Yeah. I will say that for me, it's the feeling of, like, I think no matter how hard Alicia would try to embarrass me, I don't think I could, like, she couldn't do anything that I would be embarrassed by, right? Like that feels like love, to a certain extent. Or there's just nothing she could say to me that would be like, I don't know what I'm trying to say here. Unwavering support, kindness, and love, and just understanding.
That's fair.
Yeah.
That's super fair. I do want to just make sure that we send a shout out to your wife because she is the Kosh alumni.
Episode 101. I don't even remember.
Yeah. Well, she's not too long ago.
No. I was just looking yesterday. It was 5 or 6 back, I think.
Yeah. And that was a pretty powerful episode.
Yeah.
She went in.
Yeah.
So
she's a great lady.
So check that out. Okay. Word association. That's the next segment. This is where I say a word and you tell us what comes to your mind. All right. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Okay. Food.
Authenticity. And this is just a personal thing of mine. Like when you travel, I'm kind of a foodie in this way where I want to get as authentic of the experience as I can. Or if I'm making food, I want to make it as authentic as I can, which is the most annoying thing when you come home at 6:30 on a Tuesday night and you're trying to make dinner. And I'm over here, it's like, we'll eat at 9 because I'm making mole sauce from scratch. It's one of those kind of things. I want it to be as authentic as I can, or I try and seek out as authentic food as I can.
Yes. Do you have since you've been a cook?
Yeah.
You've been a cook in town, so you're legit.
I don't say legit, but
no, you get. Look, things are only real if you say it twice.
Sure. Yeah. All right.
legit. Is there a place in town that you feel does the best authentic anything?
Well, yes, there's a couple for sure. Like Manila is great, authentic Philippine food, right? Like that, they do it well. And I think that surprises people sometimes. Like they go there expecting a sushi restaurant or something, and that's not what that is. Like they have sushi there, but I think they really excel in their like authentic Filipino dishes. Their fried pork belly, things like that. And then, honestly, authenticity can be, like Pete's Garage Bar. That's the most authentic cheeseburger you can have anywhere, right? Like just bar food, the most authentic bar food you can expect. And I love that that.
I do feel like Pete's Garage is kind of at the top of the food chain on bar food.
Yeah. Well, right. And that's what I'm saying. It's the most authentic bar food you can find around here. And even, we've got a lot of really great Mexican restaurants around here. And I think if they have like lengua or whatever, like cow tongue, or if they got tripe on the menu, like that's authentic to me. And I love that. And that's what I'm eating because, I think if that's what they're eating, at home, that's what I want to be eating.
Facts. I'm going to give a shout out to Cozumel because it's been a minute since, our place. Now, this isn't because of authenticity. This was just because of affordability and reliability. Durango's used to be the spot.
Oh, yeah.
Love Durango's. Like, we went to Durango's, like, for everything. It didn't make a difference. If we were on that side of town, it was kind of like, hey, let's just stop in and have some Durango's, right? And there was a dude in there named Raul. Now, we went to Durango's so much with that. Raul would see us in the parking lot.
You have your order ready?
It started.
That's the best.
It started there. Basically, we walked in. It was like the usual. Yeah, it's the usual. All of you? Yes, it's all the usual.
Timber's back.
Yes. Well, it's not. It wasn't just me. Like, he had my wife's order down and my daughter's order down. Like, Raul was the man. Oh, yeah, that's fabulous. Yeah. And we would just sit there and eat those chips and salsa. And there's a happiness. So, now you've brought this up. So, now I've got to bring it up. My what in the world is going on with initially was going to be, what in the world is going on with Mexican restaurants and the music, and you can't help but to be happy while you're there.
Mm-hmm.
You just cannot help it. Like, I listen to the music. I know nothing of what they're saying.
Right.
But the vibe says, I am very happy to be here. This food is fantastic. Thank you for these free chips and salsa. And yes, bring me another margarita.
One more margarita. I was going to say it. That's so funny.
I'm just saying, man. There's just something to that. Okay. Sorry.
No, listen. I actually did have another what in the world before I came here too.
What was yours?
What in the world is with Andre 3000's new flute album? Have you heard it?
Yes.
Oh my god, it's incredible. Okay.
Yes. Hey, look, no, we can talk about
that was my other one, but I opened that up and I'm like, oh, 8 songs, all right. They're each 12 minutes long. It's like, all right, we're doing some fluting today.
You know how cool is Andre 3000?
He's the coolest guy.
Like, dude, one day I want to aspire to be Timber 3000 because that's just
I love that.
Because he's my favorite
T3K.
He's my favorite rapper, and if you really go back and listen to, like, I think great rap, great artists, great lyricists in particular, not just rappers, right? Lyricists. Their lyrics span the test of time. And if you go back, and most people don't even think about this, but Outkast is old.
Yeah.
Like, Outkast is like 25 years plus old.
Yeah.
So when you go back and you listen to like the Equimini album or Elevators or any of that old Outkast, like, it's fire.
Yeah. Yeah.
Fire.
I saw an interview with him about he was talking about this, how that's why I even learned about the album, but he was talking about, he's like, I get samples all the time. He's like, rappers are sending me beats, like all this stuff. He's like, I just can't. He's like, I try. It's not like I don't want to rap anymore or make a rap album. He's like, it's just not, if I'm not feeling it, I'm not going to feel it. And I don't know if you saw the name of the first song on that album. It's like it was like, I wanted to make a rap album, but this is the way the wind blew. It's like, yeah, man, more respect for that than anything,
Yes.
Like, if that's what you're feeling, making art, not just for the sake of making it, but making it because you're feeling it,
Yes. Like, how hard is it to go from something where everybody in the world, because you're one of the greatest, you're one of the greatest of all times, and everybody is waiting for you to make this comeback, and you come back and you're just like, I'm good. I'm gonna go over here and you know what it'd be like Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah.
All of a sudden being like, I'm done quarterbacking. Like, I'm totally into pickleball.
Yeah, exactly. and he goes to the Olympics or something.
Right. I'm just gonna pickleball.
Yeah.
So like I'm loving pickleball.
Right. Yeah. Like, could happen. Don't count it out.
Facts. Cocktail or beer?
Beer. Fifth word. I have to. We make a large variety of beers. I'm at the point now where I have favorite styles, and they've changed throughout the years, and I'm like, it's like a loop. You go through this, like, I'm really sick of drinking fruit beers. Okay, well, I'm going to start drinking IPAs, and it's like, I can't drink any more IPAs. I'm kind of feeling those dark beers. Dark beers are getting a little heavy for me. I'm going to the Pilsners now, I'm in that stage right now. I'm in, like, lager stage, so that's my routine these days, is drinking the lagers. Yeah.
So do you filter out of filter in and out of different kind of beers?
Yeah, and I wish I could say it's like a seasonal thing, but I'll be drinking like 10% imperial stouts right in the dead heat of summer, or fruity wheat beers in December. There's no rhyme or reason for me. It's just sort of whatever my body's telling me.
Yeah, that's fair. All right. Okay, then let me just ask this then. I was going to move on to the next one, but I got to ask, what is your favorite Fifth Ward beer? And then what is your favorite beer not made by Fifth Ward?
This is going to be, okay, right now my favorite Fifth Ward beer is our Munich Dunkel. It's a German-style dark lager. Which is like one of my favorite styles in general, just like these like really well-made German beers, because they just taste different than everything else, but they're still like very beer flavored, if that makes any sense. So that would be my favorite Fifth Ward one at the moment, at least. But outside of this is going to be a little underwhelming. Miller High Life, baby. The champagne of beers.
No, yes. No, and I don't say no as if that's a bad thing. I say no like that is so cool, because you know what? That is my go-to.
Yeah, it's a good beer. It's a delicious beer.
It is the champagne of beer.
Exactly.
And that is all you've got to ever say. Right. What's awesome is you can walk into any place.
Yeah.
At least in Wisconsin, and say, "Hey, champagne of beers." And
yeah, we recently started playing dart ball Friday nights. It's just very Oshkosh church.
Wait, not at
bar.
not in the basement of the church.
Oh, we're up on the second floor of what's that one on the corner there of 12th and Oregon? It's the Lord's or Lourdes like middle school.
Oh,
grade school one. Either way, we're up on every Friday night. We're up on the second floor gym there, throwing darts at a baseball dartboard.
now you know I've done this.
Yeah, have you?
Man, I am Kosh.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Look, you
should have known.
There's there's levels to this Kosh thing.
Yeah.
And dart ball is one of them.
Yeah.
It's
a deep level, that's for sure.
There's that's not a first boss level. That's like boss 8th or 9th.
Right. Yeah. We're not at the final stage. We're getting close.
Yeah, we're getting closer.
Yeah.
I love that.
No, we drink a lot of High Lifes playing dart ball. That's where I was.
Oh, facts.
So.
Yes. Dart ball is a good, man. That's been years. Concert.
Okay, so I've always been a hip hop fan since high school. I bought it was probably sophomore year. I got a Warped Tour 2005 or something compilation album, and it had an Atmosphere song. I don't know if you're familiar with Atmosphere from Minneapolis. It had an Atmosphere song on it, and I didn't listen to the other 30 songs on that album. It was the only one I really cared about. Kind of sent me down this path of just hip hop, and specifically the Minnesota, kind of Minneapolis, St. Paul scene. Big like Rhyme Sayers fan, all that kind of stuff. So I was 19. I was going to school here, and was working at Dublin's, and a friend of mine, I met him through the kitchen there. He'd got hired just for like a week to help fill in. And he was about 10 years older than I was, but he grew up in Oshkosh, but he was friends. We actually have some really great local rap here. If you're familiar with Daryl Pounds at all.
Most definitely. Shout out.
Derek. Love that guy. I played dart ball with him on Friday nights.
There's levels to this Kosh thing.
So I got to see a Daryl Pound show, but at the time also it was Chad is my friend's name. He goes, hey, you should really come to the show with me tonight. He's like, I'll sneak you into the Reptile Palace down on High Street. I'm like, all right. I was like, cool. So he brings me down there, and it was this rapper by the name of Prof was the headliner. He's out of Minneapolis as well. And it just changed my life. Like, not even kidding. Just the whole live hip hop experience to me was everything I've ever wanted in a concert and more. It was the most energetic, just the vibe that I wanted. And so I got to meet that whole crew, got to meet Derek. I got to, Chad and his buddies or whatever. I kind of got into that. And so from that point on, it was like, Chad, sneak me into these shows as much as you can. And then when I finally did turn 21 and was able to go to this stuff, it just was, I was hooked. And that kind of just I've seen Prof now specifically probably 13 or 14 times just at, every venue, every one of them in Madison, as many of them in Milwaukee as I can name, Summerfest every year he was there. Just that kind of stuff. I just love live hip hop. Man.
Shout out to the Reptile.
Shout out to the Reptiles. Hidden gem. I know we haven't gotten there yet, but that's one of the hidden gems for sure.
For sure. Yeah. You know what I love about Reptile?
What's that?
They don't care who you are.
No, seriously.
Like, I've been in Reptile literally in 3-piece suits, I swear. And sitting next to said other person that's other person. I can't even tell you with a spike metalhead punk or whatever, right? And you know what?
You got the emo kids. You got the
right. No one cares.
No, it's just a good time.
Reptile is if you want to know what equality looks like, it looks like Reptile.
Exactly. There's back to this. There's a lot of people that would go in there and feel uncomfortable. And you know what? You gotta learn from those experiences. Get to meet your friends, get to meet your neighbors.
Right, exactly. All you got to do is just sit in there long enough, and somebody's going to talk to you.
Right,
and they're not talking to you like other bars you go to. They talk to you because they're trying to figure out why are you there or that. They're not really that worried about it there. No, they don't care at all. They're just talking to you because you're literally there, and they just
you're there for the same reason they are. It's because they found themselves in the Reptile Palace.
Facts. Reptile, big shout out to the Reptile Palace. That just brings me happiness. All right, shop local.
Yeah, this is honestly back to this whole. This is sort of a theme of this podcast. I feel like we've had today, but I got friends supporting friends and neighbors supporting neighbors. I think that my line of work, I've had the opportunity again back to that experience of going up and down Main Street, meeting every bar owner, bartender, bar, whatever restaurant owner we could meet. Gave us the opportunity to literally meet these people, right? And these are all local business owners. They're all our neighbors. You know, a lot of them now are my friends. It's one of these things that I love being able to go and support these local businesses because I know my dollars are going back into the pockets of my neighbors and my friends, and it's all, you know, then they're coming and spending it at my place. They're spending it other places, friends and family, you know, friends or neighbors, whatever. I mean, it's just, yeah, shop local because if you do, you're supporting your neighbors and friends. I don't know. It's that simple.
Facts. Community.
So, I think that just get involved. That's kind of my word association with it. And I think that is whatever it means to you. I mean, the example I have is, you know, as big or as small, you know, whether that's opening up a business here in town or just supporting a business in town, that's part of supporting community. Getting up and just going to the farmer's market, you know, I think is a huge support, because if you didn't do that, if everybody decided in the morning they weren't going to get up and go to the farmer's market, there would be no farmer's market and our community would be worse off for it, you know? So I think just immersing yourself in local businesses, you know, conversing with your neighbors, conversing with your friends, you know, just involving yourself with local clubs, you know, back to the you know, Society Oshkosh Brewers, same thing. That's a great little community of home brewers, and they're more than welcome. You could walk in. I mean, Timber, you want to come to an SOB meeting, I'll bring you and, you know, meet the home brewers, kind of get to, you know, see what they do. That's it. That's what community is to me, is just getting involved. And because if you don't, there is no community.
Yeah, and don't threaten me with a good time.
Yeah, right.
All right, because that answer is
the third Wednesday at 7 p.m. at the brewery.
It's called Yes. Yeah. Yes, Timber will come meet those chemists, as I would like to refer to them as. That is fabulous. You know what? That is a great running theme through this particular episode.
Yeah.
Yes. Which this is only going to help more. So our next segment is called Kosh Hidden Gems. This is your opportunity to tell us about a hidden gem in the community. It could be something everybody knows about, but maybe they don't know this particular thing, or maybe it's something, maybe it's not that well known yet.
Yeah, I think so. I got two for sure, or maybe three for sure, two. This opened up last year. This is going to be a South Side plug. Here is the Sometimes at Pioneer Island is a small tiki bar. I don't know if you're familiar or not, but they just opened last year. They're finally starting to do some cool things over on Pioneer Island, and I think that's long overdue. I know it's a big property to use, but I'm excited to see things just changing a little bit. Honestly, just a little tiki bar. There's no indoor plumbing or anything. You got to use the porta potties they have there, but come next summer, it's going to be just a cool spot to hang. Really nice patio area, and it's a fun spot. So that really great views of the lake. It's right next to the marina and stuff. It's just really neat. And then one of my favorite things to do in town is the beer hall on Thursday nights at Gibson Social Club.
Ooh.
Fantastic job. They always got some really fun music. It's like polka or German or whatever have you. Will, my favorite bartender in town's down there.
Big shout out to Will.
You had
Big
Will on, did you know?
Oh yeah, most definitely.
Will, we actually we have every year. We just had our 6th anniversary at the brewery 2 weekends ago, and 2 weekends ago, and so Will's a big barley wine guy, and barley wine, for those who don't know, is massive beer. It's anywhere between, let's say, 9 and we've had some up to 16% alcohol. Really, really thick, malty, just delicious beers, and typically aged in bourbon barrels, like barrels that have had bourbon in them for years and years. And again, Will loves these beers. He's actually part of a group on Facebook called Barley Wine is Life. It's a weird community, but it's you know, beer's a weird thing. But we've had. So every year we do these barrel-aged beers that we release or whatever, and we're just brewing these throughout the year, and we're putting these beers into barrels with the intent that, like, that's part of the ingredient. These beers aren't very good when they're prior to spending time in a barrel. Like, they're real thick, real sweet, and spending that time in a barrel Kind of just, it adds layers of complexity. It adds like a bourbon character. You get a lot of like vanilla notes, chocolate, coconut, things like that out of the wood, actually. And we had Will come in a couple years ago and help us develop the first blend of Big Willie style barley wine, which is sort of taken on a life of its own thing here now. And so this is the third year we did Big Willie style. This year's blend was 2 barrels that were 30 months old and 1 barrel that was 33 months old. That barrel was older than COVID. So Will, shout out to Will. He's one of our favorite beer consumers. Also,
let me give a super big shout out to Will, but let me give you the Will story. Of his episode. So, you know how we do this. You come in early on a Saturday morning, and for Kosh listeners who don't understand, when I say early, I mean 9 a.m. So, like, it's
I'm in
legit.
my sweatpants, all right?
Yeah, it's legit. It's early for a Saturday, right? Yeah. Will shows up, and Will's got a 4-pack of Big Will style.
Really?
Yes, no lie. He's got a 4-pack.
Yeah.
Comes in. He's dangerous. Will. He's Will, right? Gives me one. Sets the others in front of him, cracks one open right away, and guess what? We cranked out an amazing episode. Yeah. That is the legend known as Will.
That's right. Yeah, he loves barley wine. And I respect that so much.
Oh yeah. That there told me, and when that happened, you know what I said? I need to hang out with this gentleman more.
Yeah, right. He's a good time.
Yes.
Yeah, we had the opportunity. Him and Abby brought us down to a beer release in Chicago once, a couple of years back, and it was a good time. But I think he won't be bringing us again. It was by the end of it, we're like, thanks for driving, guys.
All right. You know what? We're gonna take a small commercial break right now. All right.
Did you know there are children in the Fox Valley in need of hearing aids, but their parents struggle to provide them because of lack of insurance or high copays? I am Juliette Sturkins, audiologist and board member of Here in the Fox Cities, and proud that this small local nonprofit organization has helped fund hearing aids for some 30 kids. Your donation would help more children hear. Visit hereinthefoxcities.org to learn more and to see their smiles. Every child deserves to hear.
Okay, we're back. And we are on to what has become my favorite segment here on the Kosh. And it is called Story Time. And Story Time is just an opportunity for our guests to tell us a story. It can be about absolutely anything and doesn't relate to anything in specific. It is just us and the power of narrative.
Yeah. So this kind of goes back to some of the earlier days of our brewing experience and trying to build this business or start the business to begin with. And it's got some UW Oshkosh tie-ins, which I really love. So our business advisor, Colleen, who I've mentioned several times now, she's like, I just want to do everything I can to support you guys getting this brewery open. And so when we were doing our business accelerator program, we were still home brewing. We had a bunch of beer, a bunch of different styles, and we were just handing out samples to everybody who's willing to take a bottle from us, kind of thing. And she goes, we have this staff party thing happening in a couple weeks. She's like, do you guys want to serve beer there? We're like, yeah, for sure. That'd be great. Like, just assuming that she would, talk to the people and we were going to be the beverage people. There's going to be some beer sampling going on. So we had gotten, I think, 4 or 5 different varieties. We'd brewed throughout the weeks or whatever and made sure we had enough beer. It's probably 6 cases or 8 cases. I mean, it was quite a bit of beer. It was way more than we were going to need for this event. And, at the time, I know Oshkosh was, UW Oshkosh kind of has always had that reputation of being a sloshkosh, the party town, and and I know that they were trying to lose that as much as they could, and understandable. I get that. Parents don't want be thinking their kids are going to the party school, and so they're always kind of weird about the beer thing, like just on campus, and so this party happens this day. It's like literally just like the business department or something is having like a holiday party kind of thing. And Clean goes, okay, yeah, just come. Like, and she's like, I'll open the door for you. Like, meet me by this back door, and I'll open the door. I'm like, okay. So we get in, and she opens, or she propped it open or something. Like, the door was open. And so, but it was just Zach and I, and we had a dolly full of beer, and I had a tub with some ice and glasses and all this kind of stuff. And we walk in, and immediately, I'm not kidding, like 5 seconds walking in, some professor's walking by. She goes, "What are you guys doing? What are you guys doing?" We're like, we're here for the party. We're serving beer." She goes, "Just wait right here." We're like, "All right." Like, and she just disappeared, and like she didn't come back for like 5 minutes. We're like, whatever. So we kept going. We get on the elevator or whatever. We get up to the next floor, get off the elevator. We're trying to find the room. Not even kidding. What are you guys doing? What is this? Some other professor. I'm like, what? We're serving beer at the party. And she's like, hold on right here. And finally she goes out and like gets, goes to this party thing or whatever. And Clean was nowhere to be found. So again, we're like waiting for permission to even bring this beer into the facility or whatever. And, it was just one of those, like, we were looking out of place. She's like, no way are you guys supposed to be here with all this beer. Like, what are you guys doing? We're like, yeah, we're supposed to, we're here. We're serving beer for the party. And finally, we're texting Clean. We're trying to get a hold of her. Like, you need to come find us. Like, they are not letting it. These professors are not going to let us in with all this beer. She comes and finds us. She goes, oh, no, they're serving for the party. So we had to get escorted up to the place, via teacher or whatever, and set up this table. And even then, we're serving beer for maybe 2 hours during this party. And even then, professors come up like, how in the world did you get this up here? Like, we're like, we thought we were invited. We thought we were on the list, right? Like, we thought we were part of this party, but no. This was like guerrilla beer serving, getting feedback. And of course, Clean's like, you're taking notes, right? You're asking for feedback. You're getting people to like sign these sheets or whatever. So we were like, getting like literally people coming up, not even believing this was like a legal thing to be doing. And by the end of it, they're tasting the beer like, oh, we love this. This is great. Like, yeah, I'll fill out your little questionnaire. Sure. But it was just one of those like, what are we doing here? Like, is this what opening a brewery is supposed to be like? We're like sneaking beer into Sage, the business building, like trying to take the back elevator so we're not, raising any suspicions or anything like that. It's just funny, the things we went through in order to actually get to where we are.
You know what I love about this? You basically got profiled.
Yeah, absolutely.
You totally got profiled. Yeah. You got profiled. Well, you couldn't just walk in.
I get it, and it's the thing though, is like, and under no, I imagine those professors, like, there's no reason there would ever be students, right? Like with a dolly with 8 cases of beer coming into the business department on like a, Wednesday afternoon. They're like, what are you guys doing? Like we're playing some prank or something, like gonna try and go get drunk in the the business building or something.
There's nothing good that could be of
exactly.
this.
Like, there is no reason for this to be happening.
This is hilarious. You could have probably walked in with like 100 other different things,
right,
that are way crazier than beer.
Yeah, and it would have been fine.
And it would have been fine. Right. Nobody would have said anything. They would have just let you go on and move.
There's no alcohol though.
Yeah, just not beer.
Right. So whatever. Some of them loved that we were there at the end of the day. Like, oh, this was great. Let's do this again next year for the Christmas party.
Well, that I do think that tends to happen when there is libations involved in beer.
Yeah, people's tunes change pretty quick.
Facts. That is a sweet story. Thank you. Okay, now it is time. That's right. Every single time. I love it. It is time for the topic of the week. And the topic of the week is chosen by our guests 99.9% of the time. And this week will be no different. So, Ian, what do you have for us?
The topic of the week is work-life balance and burnout culture.
Bruh. Let's go.
Yeah, it's something that I've found it's become close to my heart. I think there's a tendency, especially in the entrepreneurial community, to grind as hard as you can to try and build your business and build your empire per se, but at what cost? I think and at the end of the day, you need to be healthy and happy in order to enjoy the things that you've built. And if you can't do that, there isn't a lot of reason to be doing any of it, I think.
Facts.
Yeah. That's something that, I mean, when we first opened the brewery, I mean, we were literally, it was me and Zach, and we had one other bartender that was with us from the beginning. And literally we were making the beer, we were bartending, we were doing the, again, Zach's doing the accounting, we're doing all the social media. It would literally be wake up at 9 a.m. or, wake up at 8, get to work by 9. We're brewing in the morning till 3 p.m., and then meanwhile someone's cleaning the tap room and getting that open, and then we bartend till 10 or midnight, depending on the day or whatever. And so it really was, we're putting in 80, 90 hours for those first couple of years, and that really drives, you can do that for a while and not realize how exhausted you are until you hit the wall. And that is a real struggle when you do that.
All right. I agree. So when did you hit your wall? That's really what I want to ask. Yeah. There was another question I wanted to ask, but I think that's the real question. Like, what made you, because I think sometimes when you're living through that, you don't even realize, because you don't even have time to think.
Right.
It makes me think of the old Jesse Ventura from Predator quote, "I ain't got time to bleed." Well, you know what? I ain't got time to be tired.
Right. And so I will say that at one point it was affecting the relationship I was in, and that I think was probably the big, the girl I was seeing at the time, her and I broke up. This was, I don't know what year, but I mean, it was just one of those things where I was working so much. It was just clearly becoming a hindrance to my relationships with family and friends and loved ones. And then I think the breakup kind of shook me out of something and was like, you got to re-look at what you're doing here. And, if you don't feel happy doing what you're doing, it makes it really hard to do any of it. And, so I wanted to be happy doing that. And, I've definitely learned a lot about myself over the past 5-6 years, too. And understanding that, like, what does burnout feel like? Cause I think that feels different for everybody. Everybody hits it at different times, but it's understanding the signs and understanding what your triggers are and that kind of stuff. And really kind of knowing when you're hitting that level and being able to then walk away and say, okay, I just got to step away for a bit and remove myself. And, as a 26-year-old when we first opened, too, like I said at the beginning of this, I'm not saying I'm a super wise old man or anything, but I've learned a lot in the past 5 years or 6 years or whatever. And, just about myself and about, I've grown tremendously as a person in that time and learned about what, I value, and kind of what that means to me and, what makes me happy. I don't know.
What does that self-care look like now?
It kind of goes back to that whole grounding stuff. It's really just spending time doing the things that I enjoy and I can sort of zone out and get my head into a different space. Whether that is like a meditative sort of mindset or, spending time with family and friends, it's more or less just being able to remove myself from the daily work routine and completely not be thinking about it, because I want to be able to, when I'm there, to be able to focus 100%. And I think if I'm always at 75%, 24 hours a day, I'm not putting my best in any portion of my life then, I want to be the best person I can be at home. I don't want to get home and just be exhausted and go to bed and then wake up and do it again every day either. That's not a happy home balance. I love my home. I love my wife. I love spending time with her. I love spending time with my friends, and the older I get, the more I realize that you have to be very deliberate and, with how you spend your time. And, it just seems like you get less and less of it as you get older, like the days just go faster and faster, and just kind of one of those things where it's like, all right, you got a finite time here. What are you going to do with it?
It's true though. They say as you get older, because, when you're young, there looks like there's an infinite amount of time ahead of you, right? But as you get older and you realize, then everything feels like it's moving much faster because you feel like you're getting closer to an end.
Yeah, and speaking of other podcasts, there was one I just recently listened to, Radio Lab, one of my favorites, but they were talking about like that, like how you can dilate time yourself, and novelty was one of the things they were saying, right? Where if you fill your day with just new things that you've never done, like, you think about like when you go on vacation and, you can have like the longest day ever on vacation if you're traveling and seeing all this stuff, and like the days feel long. Whereas if it's a day where you just wake up, brush your teeth, go to work, come home, eat dinner, go to bed, I mean those days fly by, right? Because there's nothing that's really breaking them up or making them unique or interesting in any way. So it's trying to fill your days too with just interesting experiences and new experiences and making yourself uncomfortable in certain instances, and trying to just doing new things, and so trying to incorporate as much of that as well.
Do you have any guidance or wisdom for people who might be experiencing this?
Yeah. And the thing is too, for me, it's one of those things where if you walk away, it's going to be there when you come back. You know what I mean? I think that a lot of people too tend to put a lot of pressure on themselves. And I think people just need to be more kind to themselves and understand that we all have limits and that it's okay to be done, it's okay to just to put the pencil down and walk away. You don't have to keep going if you feel like you're gonna not be able to, or if you I think too it's taking stock of the things in your life and figuring out what you value most and then putting effort towards that stuff is kind of what's helped me most, and instead of like what, obviously, there's things that need to be done that I don't want to do, but like that's everything. Everybody has that, obviously, whether it's work or life or whatever. I don't want to go fill my car up with gas, what I mean? It's like that kind of stuff, but you got to do it. But like just yeah, being present and aware with yourself and understanding where your limits are and being okay with those limits too. I know a lot of people that'll just keep pushing themselves past that, and it's for the sake of getting things done or working and whatever. And you gotta know where your limits are and respect those.
Facts. I do think you can go too far.
Yeah.
And it doesn't just affect you.
Right. Exactly. And that's the hard part too. Because it's easy to justify, working 18 hours a day or whatever, like if you feel like you got to do it, but you're not. We're all part of a network, we're not just individual, blips on the screen here. It's like we all work together, whether that's at home or at work or whatever, and if you're not up to your 100%, you're bringing everybody else down at the end of the day too.
Yeah. We're all connected.
Right.
Okay. Is there any last things you'd like to say about the topic?
Just respect yourself, I think at the end of the day, that's really it. Just respect yourself and your boundaries and your limits, whatever that means for you.
Facts. All right. It's that time. All right, Kosh listeners, it's that time where we start winding down the episode. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for spending time with us. Thank you for giving us your minds and ears. Thank you for getting to know another amazing person in our community. Once again, we are a work in progress. And the Kosh is your show. So if you would like to be a guest on the Kosh, or if you would like to recommend a guest for the Kosh, or if you would like to tell us how we can be a better the Kosh, please don't hesitate and reach out to us at askthekosh@gmail.com. Once again, that is askthekosh@gmail.com. Also, help the Kosh get in the ears and on the eyes of more people. We think we have something very, very special going on here at the Kosh, and I think more community members would really appreciate these conversations that we're having with all the people across our community. And the way we do that is through improved analytics. What that means is I need you to take the time right now and hit the subscribe button. I also, if you've got a little bit of time, say a few words and leave us a review. Let us know what you think of the Kosh, good, bad, or indifferent. Just let us know. And these are things that improve our analytics, and improved analytics puts us on more searches and in front of more faces. And we think that would be very, very awesome. And then lastly, Kosh Kosh listeners, if you're interested in Kosh t-shirts, don't hesitate. Let me know so I can get a batch made. It's the season. It's the season of giving. And you already know what I'm going to say. There's nothing that says local like the Kosh t-shirt. Facts. Okay, now on to the real business at hand. It is shout out time. Ian, what do you got?
Well, I wouldn't be doing anything I'm doing today if it wasn't for UW Oshkosh and the Small Business Development Center. And also shout out to Christine Ganner at the UW Alumni Association because she's the coolest lady.
Facts.
Also, Amy at Visit Oshkosh is one of my favorite human beings in the world.
Facts.
And also my wife, Alicia, because I love her.
Hey, now you know what? Out of that list, there's 2 Kosh alumni.
Yeah.
There's that. Amy's episode is amazing.
She's like the coolest lady.
Isn't
honestly.
she?
Yeah, she's so much fun to work with. Like, she's the greatest.
And she's everywhere.
Yeah.
Like, everywhere.
It's scary.
Like, and everybody knows her.
Right. She's got that thing that Hermione's got in Harry Potter, whatever, where she splits her time. You know what I'm talking about?
Facts. Okay. All right. Well, let me see here. I got a nice little list of shout outs here. I want to send a shout out to Sarah over at Valley Transit. Glad to see you're feeling better. Want to send a shout out to Tammy at the Fox Cities Foundation. Tammy is amazing. That's what I'm going to say. I did an episode with her for Appleton Engaged, and just a fantastic person. I always tell her that I know I'm in the right place when I see you there. There's something about that. You know, when you see certain people in certain spaces, and you're like, okay, yeah, I'm supposed to be in this space. She is one of them. Want to send a shout out to my man, John Nance.
Nance.
Yes, he's coming to actually be the photographer at our Thanksgiving dinner.
He does great work. He did he took some pictures of my sister knows him really well, but he did some pictures, like family photos for us on film, with like the weird glass plates, which was wild.
Yeah, well, he's coming tomorrow to Thanksgiving dinner to do family photos with us. So he's going to break bread with us, and he's staying.
Tell him I say hi.
For sure. I definitely will. That dude is cool.
He's super cool.
All right. I want to send a shout out to everyone who had to work on Thanksgiving. Yeah. Like, seriously, like, that is no joke. That's hard.
Essential workers.
Essential workers. Like, for real, that is so hard. I understand. I feel you. And just want to say we appreciate you. I want to send a shout out to Wisconsin Policy Forum. I get to finally say that I am part of an award-winning podcast.
Woo!
I know, right?
I wish I had the clap.
Wait.
I don't have a.
Wait.
Yeah, there we go.
I got you. The Salute to Local Government Awards, and from the Appleton Engaged podcast, we won the Advancement of Racial Equity Award.
That's awesome.
It is. It's a lot of work we have put in over time, but really, Appleton Engaged would not exist without the Kosh. The Kosh is where we learned it all from, and how we understand how to do the things we're doing. Yeah. So, and if you didn't know, yes, there's 2 podcasts out there with this dude named Timber on them. Check that one out too, Appleton Engaged. All right. I want to send a shout out to Diablo Tacos. Okay. First of all, I love these taco trucks at the arena right now. If you didn't know and you haven't gone to a Herd game yet, right now there are taco trucks outside of the arena before the game, and Diablo Taco's truck is there, and Diablo's taco truck is fire. If you don't know, let me tell you, you better ask somebody. That's what I'm going to tell you. So big shout out to them. Diablo Taco Truck is also doing my 50th birthday party.
I love that. 50, you don't look a day over 38.
Yeah, I'll take that. Shoot, I would have took 39. And then last but not least, I want to send a very special shout out to every person out here loading these trucks and delivering in these trucks during this holiday season. That work is hard. I have one of those workers in my household that I love with all my heart. And that work is grueling, is hard. You have no idea. It is thankless. You have no idea that all that Amazon button pressing that you're doing sends people out to work 8-hour, 10-hour, 12-hour, 14-hour days delivering those packages so your family can be happy at the holiday season. That just takes some time. Be kind. Be kind to them when you see them.
Absolutely.
Facts. Okay. Now, we're in the last part of the show.
Yeah.
All right. And the last part of the show is this. You get 3 choices. Choice number 1, you get to share some words of wisdom with the Kosh listeners. Okay. Choice number 2, you get to tell us, what would yourself today tell your 13-year-old self? Oh. And then option 3. Option 3 is both, because you got to have an all of the above. Okay. All right.
Well, I don't know if I have much to say to my 13-year-old self. It's gonna be fine, is what I would say. My words to wisdom, though, I think just be kind, be curious, be thoughtful, and say hello.
Facts. That works. All right. What you think?
It was a blast. I'm looking forward to the follow-up.
Facts. It's the Kosh.